Today we're talking about the 3 things you can do to write a strong offer when you're in a competing multiple offer situation. Hi, I'm Becca Summers with Seasons Real Estate, and today we're talking about the 3 things you can do as a buyer to make sure your offer stands out when it comes to multiple offers. If you're new here, make sure you like and subscribe so you can capture everything Utah and real estate. So there are a ton of things you can do when writing offers, but today we're going to talk about the 3 things that you can do that don't actually cost you any more money that really make a difference when it comes to writing an offer. The first one is having a large earnest money deposit. In Utah, we tend to be a little frugal and want to save as much money as possible. This is one area you don't want to cheap out. So earnest money is the money that you put down that shows the seller that you are interested in their property. Your earnest money does go towards your closing costs or down payment in the long run, but can be lost if you don't live up to the deadlines of your contract. So do not put a large amount of earnest money down if you are not working with a competent realtor, because it can be lost. So it is a risk, but as long as you're working with someone who knows what they're doing and they're keeping track of your deadlines, you should be fairly safe. And what do I mean by a large amount of earnest money? A lot of people in Utah do $1,000. Even if we're talking about a $300,000 purchase price, they're still only doing $1,000. So in the entry-level price point, I try to get my clients to do at least 1%. Entry level being anything under $300,000. So 3% down for your earnest money is $3,000, and that really stands out. Now, if I'm talking $700,000, we're gonna do larger amounts, like $20,000 down, because we're not gonna lose it, because we're gonna live up to the contract deadlines. But that way, when they're reviewing their 9 offers, and there's one offer that gives $20,000 and everyone else is doing $1,000 or $7,000, you really stand out, and that's how you beat out multiple offers. I actually used this exact strategy last month to get a house for my client that he really wanted it. He didn't want to pay more than necessary. So putting $20,000 down in earnest money made it so we got the house. And the realtor actually called me and thanked me for writing such a beautiful offer after seeing that. The next one is having your lender call the listing agent. So when we write offers, we get approval letters all the time, but some approval letters are worth about as much as the paper they're printed on, because the loan officer didn't spend the time to actually go through the process with the buyer to make sure that they can actually qualify for that home. And lending guidelines have gotten tighter and have additional overlays, so it's actually a tricky time to get financing as a buyer. So when I'm selling a home and reviewing all the offers, I call the loan officer of the competitive offers to make sure that they are qualified and ready to go. So of all the offers I've had in the last few months, I've only had about 2 loan officers actually call me and review their buyer's qualification. It only takes a couple minutes, but it really is something that helps your offer stand out, and it doesn't actually cost you anything to have your loan officer do that for you. And then the third thing that really helps your offer stand out that doesn't cost you anything is letting your seller stay after closing. So in multiple offer situations, your seller might not know where they're going from here. So if you can do a flexible settlement deadline, or if you can close and let them stay in the house for another 15 days to get everything else figured out, it doesn't cost you anything, because you as a buyer don't make your payment until the following month. So the amount of money that you're paying would just be the rent that you currently are paying or living with families. So it's relatively affordable, but makes a huge difference in your seller when it comes to reviewing all the offers. So we are in a super competitive market, so a lot of houses are getting multiple offers. So I'm working with a client, and the client came to me and said, hey, I want to sell my house to my friend so he can get into a house because he's lost out on multiple offers. And he's been trying really hard to get a house, so I'm going to sell him my house. Will you help me buy a new house? And I said, absolutely, love to help you. So I'm helping him buy his new house, but as part of the domino process, I want to make sure that the sale of his house goes well. So I'm not necessarily representing on the sale, but I made sure to review the contract to make sure everything was going to line up well for our purchase. Well, after looking at the contract, I realized that the buyer had given us an FHA offer for a house that probably is not going to qualify for FHA. FHA is the first-time homebuyer loan that a lot of first-time homebuyers use. The thing with FHA is the house has to match up to a certain quality of standard to pass an FHA appraisal. The appraiser's book for FHA appraisals is about 188 pages long, and they can flag the house for anything when it comes to condition. Now, some houses, things can get flagged and fixed and repaired for less than $1,000, but this particular house was not the case. So when I brought that up to my client, he let his friend know, and they all had a conversation together, and the buyer of the property ended up having to cancel because things weren't going to work out that he could buy the house. And the buyer was super frustrated because he had been shopping with a friend as his realtor who didn't really take the time to explain to him the whole buying process, or even explain to him that as an FHA loan you couldn't buy a house with these certain criteria. So that is why the buyer had missed out on multiple offers, but the buyer had no idea why this was happening. Now, when you are buying a house, especially as a first-time homebuyer, there's a lot of different things that you need to consider, and you need a full-time competent realtor to guide you through this process. It might be nice to have a friend help you because it's fun to hang out with them, but in the grand scheme, if you want to get into a house in this ultra-competitive market, you need to work with a professional. So if you are looking to buy a house in Utah and you're sick of this super competitive market and you want all this extra help and everything else that we do to get our clients into houses and beat multiple offers, reach out. We would love to help you through the process.